Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Daniel and myself for this wonderful industry professional session. For those that don't know, because I know there's a couple of people here that have joined for the very first time. So Daniel and I run Actors Coach International, and we have done for the last 4 years. And we every month we have a free session with a wonderful industry professional, whether it be casting director or whether it be a director or a coach or anyone like that. And this time, I'm very excited. Very good friend of mine, Dialect Coach Chris Lang.
Hi, everybody.
So yeah, Daniel, how would you like to start this?
I want to go straight. See, I do loads of preparation for these sessions and questions, Q&A and stuff, but I haven't done any because I just want to press Chris's button and
Oh, I pressed
he's
Chris
off.
button.
He's
Yeah,
off. Chris said before when we said, "How you doing today?" He goes, "I'm tired," but Chris is tired. Is everybody else is a Duracell bunny?
yeah.
So I just want to press the button, Danny, and just
Press the
say,
button.
"Off you go, Chris."
Let's go. Yeah, why not? Hi, Chris.
Hi, Dan. Hi.
Thanks for
Um,
joining us.
I guess let me introduce myself. Hi, guys. Dialect Coach Chris Lang. So I've been a professional accent coach in film and television and live performance for going on 20 years or so now. And I got my start, like all of you, as an actor. In fact, I still do some acting, but my first love as an actor is theater, if I'm going to do it. I'm in love with the idea of like a burly 4-hour Hamlet or something. Like that's my thing because I love rehearsal so much. But the reason I'm an accent coach is because this work that I teach now, this was kind of my way in as an actor. And I trained in acting for a while, and I had a voice and speech teacher who was my mentor and was like, "You're really responding well to this work, and let's maybe look deeper into this." So I continued to train with her for a number of years. Ended up teaching alongside her at the end of that. At which point she says, "Let's level you up if we can." And so we went on to search for graduate acting programs that specialized in voice and speech. And there was one in America at that time, and we applied, or I applied, and there was no way I was getting into this program, by the way. There was zero chance, but it was like, I'm a dream, sure, let's go. And I was auditioning for other graduate programs and had gotten into Rutgers at that point. And when this program was like, actually, you know what? Why don't you come join us? So they accepted one student every year, and they chose me that year, and I found myself at Harvard. And
Wow.
so I ended up going through their master's degree training program in voice and speech pedagogy. So the art of teaching voice and speech for actors or public speakers or anybody else who needs to use their voice professionally. And part of that, of course, is accents. And boy, did I fall in love. I fell hard for it. I didn't know if I'd like teaching at all. And I love it and I love accents. And so got out of school and then ended up teaching a little bit here and there at different colleges, made my way out to LA, where a buddy of mine from grad school and I ran a theater company and an acting school for almost a decade. And that's where I met my manager and transitioned into film and television. And, I've subsequently left LA because we do all this work online and have done for almost 8 or 9 years now. And when that was the case, I was like, I don't have to live in LA anymore, which is great because I don't like LA, as it turns out. I'm from Colorado, so mountains and open spaces, that's for me. So that's where I live now. Yes, I've just been coaching, actors for film and TV primarily. I prep a lot of actors for their auditions that need accents, and I prep actors in pre-production to go on set. Then I coach actors on set and take care of them there and make sure that all the takes are being monitored, and I'm camped out next to the script supervisor with a notepad telling him which takes are good for accent audio and which aren't, so the editing is better. That saves us from having to do ADR in post-production, but if we have to do that, then I'm also available for post-production as well. So from start to finish, even from casting sometimes through the finish of the project, I'm involved in that. And so I'm kind of here to talk to you guys, I guess, about why accent training, what's important about it, what's not important about it, what the process can look like, and why you guys probably should be thinking about it as a priority in your career.
That's a
Um,
great place to start. I just want to say also, Chris, that you said just at the start there that you just fell really hard about dialects, and I I first approached you way back in 2019
Mhm.
about working with you on some dialects, and it was like an unlocking of something inside me that was like, oh my god, this is the thing.
Mm.
And just to note for anyone, like, because I know there's also a few people here that have also currently working with Chris or have worked with Chris before. Um, it's not just one accent; it's all accents, it's all dialects. So yeah, you're gonna
Oh
love
yeah, every single accent. Quick show of hands, who here has had accent training in their life at this point? Okay, ish. All right. Another quick show of hands. Who here is intimidated by the idea of accent training? Yeah, okay, all right. That's normal. By the way, I encounter that all the time. Let me first and foremost say to those of you that are intimidated by accent training, do not be. Guys, it is just a skill. It's a skill like any other skill. And at this point in your lives, you have literally taught yourselves tens of thousands of skills and you have mastered all of them. There was a point where you didn't know how to eat with a spoon, and you learned how to do that. And learning accents is just like learning any other, it's like learning to roller skate, right? It just takes time. It takes time and practice to do it. So please never, ever, ever be intimidated by accent learning. Okay. You can totally learn it. It is all learnable. Um, so for those of you who have had accent training in the past, what you may hear from me is likely to be a little bit different than what you've had in the past. Historically, accent coaches have been in the business of saying, all right, here's a list of words and here's how we say them, or here's the sounds in your accent, maybe, and here's what they changed to in the new accent. And now let's just do endless mimicry and repeat after me while you try to figure out why the sound you're making isn't the sound that they're making. So you have an accent coach saying, so it's call, and you go caw, and they yeah, no, 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 call, yeah, caw. That's what I'm saying. No, 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 call, caw, no, 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 call, and just endlessly repeating that over and over and over and over again. The point where you're in a position of trying to remember how to say every freaking word that's in your script, which is impossible, by the way. All right, so that shouldn't be our goal, is try to remember how to say stuff. What we want to do instead is think about accent learning in terms of a process. All right, there's a process that we engage with, and there's technique that we use in that process, or skills. We learn skills. These are what I call universal accent skills. All right, universal. They apply to every accent, okay? Accents all work in exactly the same ways. It doesn't matter which one it is. It doesn't matter what language they come from. Languages all work in that same way too. So languages and accents, it's not a mystery how these things work. We know exactly how they work. We know exactly what languages and accents are made of. And we know exactly how the human brain works with language. We know exactly how acting works too, right? So all we need is a process and technique and lots of skills to learn to apply to that. Universal accent skills. This is going to be the thing that I talk the most about all the time. Foundational, fundamental accent acting technique. If you can master accent skills, my friends, you become a master of accents.
which is why I advertise you as a Jedi Master in dialects, Chris. You
These
are.
are the accents you're looking for. I'll take that. I need a lightsaber now, though. So next time, if we can arrange to have a lightsaber present for the workshop, I'd appreciate it. Anything we
Geek alert, geek alert.
can. So, universal accent skills. What does this look like? Why is this important? So, think about it this way. Okay, quick show of hands. Who here has an accent? All right, good. Yeah, everyone's raising your hands. Good, good, good. All right. Sometimes when I ask that question, people go, I don't have an accent. Yeah, you do. Yeah, everyone's got an accent, right? You cannot speak out loud without speaking in an accent, right? Any more than you could type without a font. So we all have accents. Every one of us comes preloaded with an awesome native accent. I call this your preferred accent because we do choose how we talk on a daily basis. So we have a preferred accent that we use. Um, these accents come from real places full of real people with real cultures and histories and everything like that, right? And your accent's deeply embedded into your sense of self, your identity. right? You wouldn't feel like yourself without it, right? Would you? It's how you identify with your friends or your family or really any other social group you're a part of. Accents are giant parts of our social cues with each other. Huge, huge parts of that, right? So one thing we know is you come with an accent, right? But not every character you play isn't likely going to have the same life history that you do. And so their accent's probably going to be different than yours at some level. Maybe just a little bit different, maybe a lot different, but you will never, ever, ever do any acting that isn't accent acting. You will always be acting in an accent every single time, whether that accent is yours or not. All right. So there's never a time, because there's never a time we're not acting in accent. We have to take on this idea of accent training as a fundamental part of the preparation that you do for any acting, no matter what, even if you're acting in your own accent. So accent skills are really, really important because we want to prepare you to be able to deal with any accent change that you need to make in your acting. Right? Whether you're acting in your own accent and the character, the storytelling needs something a little different. How do I modulate my accent, right, to fit that thing? Or if it's an accent completely different from your own. All right. And here's the rub, guys. We don't know all the accents you're going to be asked to do in your career. There's no way to guess that. All right. Now, obviously, based on your type, your look, your branding, there's a handful that we can say, yeah, you probably will be cast with these, right? Or there's a likelihood, or we could, maybe submit you in these areas because you have a type, right? So we need the accent for that type. But that's a fairly limited sample size. We actually need a larger sample size available to us, but we don't have that. So what do? We got to prepare ourselves for any accent. You're not going to do every accent, guys. Like this face is not doing Nigerian accents. Sorry, that's just not the way that's going to happen, right? But this face better be able to do British accents and Irish accents. All right, I just this big blocky Irish head. That's the way that goes. All right. So we just don't know all the accents you're going to be asked to do, so we have to prepare you to do any accent you're asked to do. And to be able to do it quickly, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when these auditions come in, you pretty much have like a day or two
Yeah.
to throw it together. And now imagine you're in that situation and it's an accent you don't know yet. Has anybody here turned down auditions because of accents in them?
I used to.
Yeah.
I used to like, oh my God, I can't do that accent, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, that's too far away from me.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just gonna be stuck in my head. I'm not gonna be acting and I'm gonna feel like a fool. And I don't want to feel like a fool in my acting. It's a very common experience. I want you guys to not feel like that. I want all of you when your agent, your manager calls you and says, great news, here's an audition. It needs whatever accent and it's due in 2 days. I don't want you to hang up the phone in a panic when you call me or whatever accent coach you're calling. You go, oh my God, I need to get this thing. Is this possible? Do we do? And then like we are way off base in terms of how we want to approach our acting in the first place now in that mindset. Right. But I want you to instead to hang up the phone and go, all right, opportunity knocks. Let's go get this thing. I know exactly what to do. Right. Not that it's, easy, but it's simple. Right. It's a simple, straightforward thing. We know how to do the thing. And that's what we want to chase after. We want to be confident in our technique and confident in our process. You know?
I
So
love it.
this
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, so like this is why accent skills are so crucially important because they are what's going to help set you up for your best shot at success when it comes to booking the callback and booking the job, right? We want you to have the best shot. Like you're not going to get every callback, you're not going to book every job, but I want all the actors I train to be fearless in their attempt at it. I want unapologetic humanity on that screen in all its glory. And that includes the behavior of communication, the exciting, exciting behavior of communication, the speech and accents. Yeah, that I want you to take a big swing at it because it's in the integrity of your attempt at it, guys, that you'll be satisfied, not in the result. Booking a job's wonderful, but if you send in a great audition and you're like, oh, I nailed that. However it happens, I fucking nailed that thing. You feel great no matter what. And then you're satisfied in your work. That's what we want. That's why this training is important. What were you going to say, Dan?
Where do you think a lot of actors make the mistake about accents? Like, what's a classic mistake that actors might make?
Waiting until the audition happens to start accent training. Right? I see it all the time. The time to have your accent stuff ready to go is way before you need it. Think about this. Who are the best accent actors in the world? Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis, Kate Winslet, DiCaprio, Matt Damon, I think, is very good. Kate Blanchett. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of really great accent actors. There is a reason we have all these stories about Daniel Day-Lewis taking 2 years to prep for a role. It's not because he doesn't need it. He's not being self-indulgent, right? It takes time to prep for a role. It takes that time so that you can fully internalize all of the new physicality of the accent, the identity of the accent, the music of the accent, the specific sound targets of the accent, link them together. What's the choreography of that thing like in my mouth? How does this behavior here get to flex to the moment in front of me as an actor? And then how do I integrate this accent into my performance? So I'm not just doing an accent, I am communicating through an accent. That just takes time. I had the great fortune this last year of coaching an actor by the name of Alex Wolff, who many of you may have seen in Hereditary and Jumanji and these other things. But the series is called So Long, Marianne. It's an 8-part miniseries about the life of the American song or Canadian songwriter Leonard Cohen,
Yeah.
and in the 1960s. And it just premiered at Series Mania in France a little while ago. That's why I can talk about it now. I've been able to talk about this before. But he and I started 2 years ago, and we had 10 months of prep time. That's unheard of, right? We were so fortunate that we had all that prep time, because by the time we started in August and he started filming end of March. By the time we got to March, he was so raring and ready to go and internalized that he could communicate effectively through the accent, feel all his emotions through the accent, express his thoughts in those specific ways. And because he's playing a real life human being, or the man's dead now, sadly, but he's playing a real person, we had to be super, super specific. It's not just an accent, it's what we call an idiolect, an idiosyncratic dialect. Someone's real, not an impression, but something deeper than that at a human level. So I was so grateful to have that time, but we almost never get that time unless it's a star at that level. All right. If you're in the co-star, guest star, supporting role, you're not going to get 10 months. Sorry to say, it's just not going to happen. The most time I've ever gotten with like a co-star, guest star level is 5 days to prep them. So what this means is you guys have to be ready with this stuff way before it happens. This is to quote Princess Bride, you fell victim to one of the classic blunders, right? Never start a land war in Asia, never go up against a Sicilian when death is on the line, and you didn't start accent training until you got the audition. Those are the 3 classic blunders, as far as I can tell.
There's some wonderful accents that have been listed in the chat here from people that have just put, if you want to learn an accent perfectly, what would that be? There's a whole range. There's a lot of American, Irish, Arabic, Irish and Scottish,
Yep.
Manchester, Liverpool, Irish, British, South African, and Australian there, from Victoria as well. A whole range of accents. And would you say that the technique that you use or the techniques that you use are exactly the same for all of those?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter what accent you're learning if you know the technique and the process. You just apply those skills to that accent in the same way, right? So there's 4 phases to the accent learning process with accent skills. Number 1, awareness and identity. Awareness of what? Well, accents. I mean, like, what is it? What is an accent? How does it work? Where do they come from? Why is it happening this way? What's its history and stuff like that, like just awareness of like the accent in general, but also accents in general, right? Like we have to be able to look at an accent and ask the real question, what is this accent actually made of? What is it actually made of? Because if I played an accent for all y'all right here, okay, if I played this accent and I said, all right, what's everybody hearing? What are we seeing? What are we noticing? I get a lot of answers back in the vein of, hey, that's like a real sing-songy accent, isn't it? Okay. I mean, fair enough, guys, fair enough. But I have no idea what the hell that means. And really, neither do you. Like, we know it means something specific to us, but we don't know what sing-songy means, really. Now, the thing you have noticed in the accent, that's real. I don't think you invented that or imagined that. I think you're noticing something real, but you don't have a way to describe it that's at all helpful, right? Because if sing-songy is a part of this accent, I actually need to know exactly what that is, because I'm going to have to do that when I'm doing the accent. And I can't rely on something sort of being vague and ephemeral like that. We have to be really specific about what accents are made of. So every accent we learn, we have to look at in this way. We have to be aware of our own personal linguistic biases when it comes to each accent, right? Guys, I'm an American, right? Shocker. You can hear it, I'm sure. But when I hear a British received pronunciation accent, I am predisposed culturally, socially, in every way to believe that the speaker of that accent is rich, fancy, well educated, probably a Disney villain.
Daniel, I see you.
Yeah. Because this is just how these accents have been used in my life and my culture and everything surrounding me, right? And it's not that the accent can't mean those things, because it certainly can, but the accent in real life means so much more. So much more than that. And we don't want to be locked into what our own biases and feelings are about any one particular accent, because if I'm acting in a British RP accent and all I can think is rich, fancy, well educated Disney villain, that's all I'm going to be able to do in my acting. So we have to open up our awareness about this stuff with every accent in the same way. Um, Part of the skills process that's next, if you're in sort of longer ongoing training with me, is the first accent we learn isn't actually your target accent, it's your accent. Your own native accent. That's the first accent we want to learn all about. Because it's our starting place, you guys. Every accent you learn, you're learning from your accent. And if we don't know how your accent works and everything about it and all the ins and outs of it, we have no idea how to get from here to any other accent. We got to be able to plan the trip. The drive to New York is very different if I start in Miami or Seattle, right? Same destination, but I'm packing very different clothes on that trip, right? Sometimes I'm preparing for snow or rain or whatever, right? It's a very different trip. And so every accent you learn, we need to be able to plan the trip. So it means we need to know where we're starting from. But this is where we also learn how you modulate your own accent, should we need to do that for any role, which, by the way, you will. It's not an if this is going to happen, it's a when. You definitely 100% will have to modulate your accent in your acting. But then we got to talk about, I mentioned how our accents are tied into our identity. That's how we feel like ourselves. Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, guys, if our accents work like this in real life, the accents for acting also have to work like this. All right. So I remember working with Danny all those years ago now. God, it doesn't feel like 5 years ago, whatever it was. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like that long ago, but it's a while now. But I remember we were having the same conversation. I'm going, all right, you're wanting to work on this general American accent. So we need an American identity for you. Who's American Danny?
Yeah.
What's it like to be American?
Yeah.
Right? Because unless you can imagine yourself as a native speaker of this American accent and like everything that that means, you're always going to be separate from it.
It was so interesting. For those that haven't worked with Chris, the last thing, the very last thing that Chris taught me throughout this process is the sound of the words, the sound of everything.
Yeah.
Everything else came before the people, the identity, everything like that. It's really interesting.
Yeah. The sounds are the last thing we deal with in the process because, frankly, they're the least important piece of it. They're the most superficial piece. So they're usually the first thing we notice in an accent is that it sounds different. But it's actually the sounds are the result of all of these other dominoes that stack up way before it, including awareness and identity. And the next piece, which is mechanical dexterity and control, how the vocal tract itself works. Right. If you guys want to know more about this, Robin is training in this with me right now. You can always ask him what it's like to essentially take your face to the gym with me and work all the muscles out. So, because accents are fundamentally made by these body parts moving around in specific habitual ways, right? So we need to pull all this stuff apart so that we can understand how do we put it back together in a new cool habitual way for a new accent and give you strength, flexibility, control, playfulness, fun with your vocal tract. Essentially, how do I dance all the choreography that an accent might ask me to do here? So we take your face to the gym, we put you in some CrossFit and some yoga, we get you in some dance classes here and ballet and modern and jazz, etc. Right? Because then we get to a point where, yeah, I think I can do the choreography of the accent, any accent. All right, great. Well, now let's give your vocal tract something to do. So then we move into a phase I call coordination and flow. And this is where we deal with sounds, right? But not just the sounds of the accent. I want to teach you every sound because your vocal tract is capable of it. Would everyone agree here that we all have the same body parts?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got lips, yeah?
Yeah.
Jaws, tongues, soft palates, uvulas, hard palates, larynx, pharynx, all of that. Okay, so we all have the same body parts. So it stands to reason that you all are capable of doing everything that every other vocal tract on the planet can do. It doesn't matter what language or accent they happen to speak. You have it all right here already. It's not like you need to grow an extra tongue or something else or a fin in your hard palate or no, you don't need any of that. You have it all, and not someday, my friends, today. Look at this face. Today. Hear me when I say this. You have it today. All right. And that's what I want to teach everybody. How do we target every single vowel and every single consonant that exists in every single language, all 7,000 or so? So I teach you to do that. Right? There's technique, there's process for it, right? It's not an infinite thing. It's a lot, but we can learn it all. And then you understand, boy, I'm capable of everything. There's not an accent I couldn't do. There's not a language I couldn't act in if I had to. This is great. So then the accent we're learning comes along and we work on the specifics for that. We shove that in your mouth. We take the physical stuff, we shove that in your mouth. We take the music of the accent, we shove that in your mouth and everything else. And we start connecting it together in a kind of flow, something like human speech again. And then, my friends, we drill the ever-living crap out of it. We drill it and 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 we drill it. And this is what takes the time to drill it and drill it and drill it. Why are we drilling it? Because we have to build muscle memory for the accent. Because here's the kicker. You cannot listen to yourself do an accent and act at the same time. You can choose one or the other, but not both. You can, however, feel yourself do an accent and act at the same time because these are just body parts moving around. And fundamentally, this is no different than any other physical acting choice that you ever make. There's more happening here. It's faster, and we're dealing with communication, so there's that difference. But before it's anything, it's physical, right? So we can have awareness and control and flexibility with all of these body parts while we're acting, just like we do with these body parts while we're acting. No different. So we have to drill to build muscle memory. But eventually we get to a point where it's consistent, it's accurate, it's authentic, it's kicking, it's flexible, it's fun, we're playful in it, right? And then we move into the final piece, which is accent identity integration. So this is where we take that identity we crafted for you for the accent and we start melding it in here. We meld it with the physical stuff we've been working on. And then we have to ask the big question, like I remember asking Danny, all right, Danny, could we have something to say now? Could you mean what you say? Could you need something? Could you be passionate? Could you act? Could
Yeah.
you laugh and cry in this accent?
And I did, and that's the thing. It's like, you gave me all these exercises, Chris, and then it was like, okay, great, let's just do this scene right now in this thing, and it was a scene from American Psycho.
That's right. Yes, it was.
And yeah, it was fantastic.
You like Phil Collins, I
Like for
remember.
Collins, yeah. Um, but this is a two-way conversation there. We've got about half an hour left. So if anyone has any questions for Chris, do put your virtual hands up or your actual hands up or both. Just coming to a couple of notes here. One from Thomas, who's got a great thing in the chat here. I just wondered if you could speak
Yeah,
to
let me
that.
see this. Okay.
Can hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm reading your question, Thomas, here. This is so you are experiencing. It's so weird because I was having this same conversation last night with a friend of mine who's an accent coach. And because I was watching Three Body Problem on Netflix last night. And I was like, Jonathan Pryce's accent's a little off to me. He's got this weird, he's an RP speaker, but he's got this roticity thing. I'm hearing R's in his accent now. As I was starting to talk to my accent coach friend about this, I was like, well, he's been living in LA forever and ever and ever and ever and ever now. And when we live other places, our accents change. And, so like when we're talking about Tom, I was like, what's your native accent? Well, I'm Welsh, but I live in Manchester. And then I go to Manchester and my accent changes. But when I go home, suddenly I'm like uber Welsh, like the Welshest Welsh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely normal. Okay. Accents just change. Like our accents, while there's a sort of basic structure that they tend to inhabit of consistency, it's human speech, man. So it's wildly inconsistent. It's wildly changeable. We're constantly evolving how we talk. All of us here, it looks like are adults, more or less, right? Or at least age-wise, we feel like it. But our accents tend to solidify around 18 to 25, right? And then the rest of our life, we sort of have a version of that. But even that's not set in stone. Right. Our first accent we get about age 5. We get another one kind of during puberty, sometime between 10 and 15, maybe another one around 18 as we move around the world or out of the home for the first time sometimes. But typically by the time we're 25-ish, kind of set. But like we get to choose how we talk. And our brains are hardwired to recognize that when we are in a space and, oh, those accents are different than my accents, maybe we should start sounding more like them so they don't hit us on the head with a rock and take all our stuff. Just an evolutionary thing dealing with tribalism in a way. But like accents are constantly changing. I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. It's one of the cool things about accents. And the fact that we do have these choices we can make. This is, by the way, called code switching. We code switch based on context. Right, I'm teaching a workshop right now, so I'm really trying to be clear with my speech and everything. So I'm code switching. But if you and I were just like, oh, hanging out at the bar or something like that, having some beers, it'd be a little different than this, right? Situation, context determines everything in terms of how we speak. And so not just location, but everything. Who we're talking to, why we're talking to them, what are we talking to them about, why is it important, what happens if I'm understood, what happens if I'm misunderstood. Context is king for all of this. But yeah. So how do you tap into it? Notice it. Get really curious about it. Right? It's not about doing anything right or wrong or anything like that. It's about noticing how it's happening when it's happening, and just being curious about it. And then, of course, I would say work with an accent coach, and we'll figure out how to really make an asset of it. Right? Because we want every one of you that has an accent, and that's every one of you. All right. You will be cast in your native accent. We want you to be cast in your native accent. It is a marketable skill. I guarantee your agents and managers do not want you to lose a marketable skill. Danny, correct me if I'm wrong. Right. So, like, embrace it. Get curious about it, Thomas.
Oh,
I
and
love
that reminds me about one thing that you always said to me, and you are passionate about. Do not lose. Do not. What's that thing that you say? Yeah,
accent reduction is not a thing.
don't lose. Yeah, don't do
Do
active.
not lose your accent.
Yeah.
Okay. Do not try. Not only is it next to impossible to do it, all right, on a real life basis, all right. So you'll constantly feel like you're failing. So that's the first downfall to it. But number two, as I just said, it is a marketable skill, your native accent. We want you to keep it around. But number three, your accent is a part of your identity. It deserves to be nurtured and celebrated and cherished, right? Guess where your art comes from, guys? Your identity. If we start fucking around with your accent and reducing it, we start reducing your identity and we start reducing where your art comes from. Believe you me, we do not want to make it harder for you to act and love acting.
Florina, you're raising your hand. Hi, good to see you.
Hi, yes. Thank you. Good to see you too. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
I do have a question, actually two questions. The first one is our mood influencing our accent? Because I'm seeing myself when I'm more relaxed, is my accent, it's much better. Or when I'm tired and I don't care anymore, I'm not putting so much effort in it, but my accent is much better than when I'm trying to have a good
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah. Well, so we have to tackle the sort of weird thing. Okay, what is a good accent?
Well, I sound more American than Eastern European.
Okay, all right. So when my accent is more American than not, all right.
Yes.
Here's also what I would say. Are you trying to sound like an American in everyday life?
No, because I do still live in my country, so
Okay, all right.
that's fine.
So good. That's good. Don't try. It's not worth it. All right. You'll just constantly feel like you're failing. But it sounds to me like we're encountering, some weird inconsistencies when circumstances decide to make themselves known. I'm tired, I'm whatever, right? Um, I think what I'd have to say about that is the thing that saves us from sort of being at the mercy of circumstance in a way, like what you're describing, it's technique, it's training, it's technique. That's the biggest thing that I would say. Because if we found ourselves in a situation anywhere in our acting where we go, I don't know why this is happening, or I'm really inconsistent in these moments, or something's just not happening the way I want it to. Always a question to go back to is, okay, well, do I have a piece of technique to solve this? Is there a tool in my toolbox I can apply to this thing? Right? It's no different than if,
Yeah.
we say, I'm having a really hard time memorizing this speech. Okay, is there any technique I can apply to it and make it easier? Having a hard time being vulnerable in this moment. Is there any technique I can apply to that? Having a hard time feeling the emotion in this direction that I'm being directed in. What technique can I apply to that? My accent is different when I'm tired of this or that, what technique do I have that I can apply to that? Right. And it's a little bit different
Yeah.
for everybody. And so I would, to go back to the thing I started with, like what's a good accent, get out of that mindset right away. Accents are not good or bad. They are only ever good for something. All right. We do not need accents to be good. We do not need accents in our work to be perfect. We need them to be real. We need them to be real human behavior. Right? Including what's a version of this accent when I am tired. So I swear to God, let me tell you, Americans get tired.
That is true.
Yeah.
Right? It's just real part of real human behavior, right? I'm experiencing it today, in fact. So, I mean, does this help? Does this answer your question? Am I?
Yes, it did. In a way, kind of answer my second question as well, because the second one was I'm prepping the script for a self-tape, for example, and I have it. I have all the THs in place. I'm doing everything right, and then I start taping, and my accent just goes out the window, and I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wasting
Because
the time in
remember,
acting.
like your priority is always going to incline towards acting, which is good. This
Yes.
is good, by the way, that this happens. It's not a bad thing. But what it sounds like is like the acting is this, or the accent rather, is this thing that you've sort of brought into the acting and you're sort of trying to put it on top of it, like a hat or a costume piece of some sort, right? And you're not able to communicate through it, right? You're more or less just doing an accent. And the accent has to be integrated into your performance like any other kind of behavior gets integrated in when you're looking like, how do I get from this moment to that? Well, I think about this and I think I see something in them that pulls that next moment out of me. And then I say, okay, well, how does the accent flex to that moment, that reality? Does the pronunciation change? What's the flow like? What's the rhythm, the music of it? Where do I feel the vocal tract posture, opening up or closing or changing because of all of this? Right. So, you know, my guess is because you mentioned I've got all the THs in place and everything like that, you're
Yeah.
fixated on sounds.
I've been told by not by a coach, but by someone from the States repeatedly, like the th,
Well,
and it's kind of
listen,
stressed
yeah,
me.
it is a sound that happens in American accents and lots of other English accents. But like, there's nothing more special about that sound than any other sound.
No, I just became aware of it, so I'm
Yeah,
concentrating more on it.
well, you're fixating on it now,
Yeah, I
right?
think
And
so.
we have to let that fixation go and say, how do I make sure these things are happening without like obsessing about them to the point where, it's this thing that's separate from the acting, right? I would start with identity. Like, what does it feel like physically first to go the, the, the? Okay, I've got a physical experience, but now what does it feel like in here? Does it change anything for me? All right. What if I'm an American?
Yeah.
Can I imagine myself as an American? I wouldn't feel like an American unless I did this, would I? Right? And you start really, like, you have to start from the basic human level of it first, because otherwise we don't have anything later to connect all the technique to, the mechanical stuff, right? We don't have anything real or human to feed into that. And so there's some steps in the process that I think for you are probably missing. And I'll just say it again, come train. I mean, this is all fixable. This is all
Yeah.
solvable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good news.
Yeah, totally. Tell me about it.
I want to say thank you, Florina, by the way. Really, really lovely to see you.
Thank you.
I want to
Thank
say,
you.
Chris, you are doing a special 8-week accent course for us, for ACI people only.
Yes.
Everyone here, everyone on ACI, starting on the 1st of May at 7 p.m. British time. 1st of May, 7 p.m. British time. So everyone will be there. So you'll know people. It's going to be a very small group. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's going to be accent skills, baby. Accent skills.
If you want to join, and as you can see from the chat, Robin is currently doing Chris's course as well. I've worked with Chris as well. If you want to join, just email Georgie, who is here in the group as well. Hi, Georgie. Just send Georgie an email, and then we can sign you up.
It's like 2 hour classes, aren't they? 2 hour classes, eight 2 hour classes.
2 hours for 8 weeks every Wednesday evening for you guys, about noonish for me. But what I do in that workshop is I take you guys right from the start of awareness and identity through mechanical dexterity and control into coordination and flow. And we play with a lot of stuff. So you're going to end that workshop with a lot of skills. And then if you want to work on a specific accent at that point to its completion and ultimate mastery for yourself with me, then we can talk about what sessions after that would look like.
Yeah, it's only about 20 quid a class. Sorry for me to be piping up with the money again. I'll mute myself.
It's ridiculous. It's so good. Yeah, you should do it. If yeah, absolutely. Robin has opened his hand. Hi, Robin.
Right.
Hey, Robin. I feel like I just saw you this morning. I don't know.
It was a while ago, and I've been doing your blueberry exercise since.
Oh, good.
Yeah, just following on from what Florina was saying, and I first got through to you by Danny when I had an audition where I was having to do an Italian accent, and it was for a real person who had existed, historical figure, and I had, I think, 2 days, wasn't it, Danny, something like that. And I kind of panicked initially, and then you put me onto Chris. And the great thing was that you didn't focus on this thing about how it sounds. The first thing I had some little exercises to do before we met for our session online, but it was about where my tongue is in my mouth. The kind of, it was about the posture of my face, basically. Mm-hmm. And I found that once I'd done that, I'd got through that, I thought, but I can do this. The Italian comes out. I don't have to think about the individual sounds, not at all. So I could focus on the acting. And I think that Florina, that was really an eye opener for me. That's why I carried on with Chris afterwards, because I realized it's all about where everything is in your mouth. And once you know where everything is and you have that awareness, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can even speak like those minions in the Minion films.
Yeah, that's what we were working on today in our office.
Yeah. Gelato.
Yeah. Guys, you all don't know just how capable you are. Like, every one of you has it in you to be a badass accent actor. All right? Take a second for yourself and just go, okay. Have I ever thought of myself as an accent actor? Just ask that question honestly of yourself. There's probably a little voice inside you that goes, maybe 1 or 2 accents, but I'm kind of scared of all the other ones. Yeah. Let's turn that voice around. You all have it in you to be badass accent actors. It just takes technique and training. That's it.
Yeah. It's such a psychology thing as well. It's the voice inside us that tells us, oh my God, I can't do this, or this thing is really is really difficult, and it's really not. It's the easiest thing. Yeah,
it's a simple thing.
it's a simple thing. Yes.
Let's not like simple and easy. Let's not conflate those. I think, yeah, because I use this language a lot in my coaching. I'm like, we're trying to move your tongue here. Okay. And they're like, oh, this is so hard. I'm like, yeah, but it's simple.
Yeah.
Right. It's just one, like we're trying to move the tongue 2 millimeters up in this one specific place. That's a relatively simple concept, but it is hard. Right. But like, don't let none of that worry. Like the mindset is such an important piece of all our acting training, and I think in accent training in particular, because we're dealing with communication and all the baggage we all have of our own accents and things like that. But you should never, ever, ever underestimate the power of positive self-talk. You literally can talk yourself into or out of anything. All right. Any speaker, this is a quote, I forget with who now. Any speaker can convince most people of most things and himself of nearly anything, whether that's good or bad. All right. But accents, acting training, but accents in particular, it's easy to couch all of it in terms of right and wrong, good and bad, things like that. That language is the language of judgment, where rather than experiencing a thing and having the experience and whatever, we're judging the experience of it. We're having opinions and judgments about it. My whole philosophy as a teacher, and I work with everybody in this way, is the only way to silence that voice of judgment is to flip that coin around, and the opposite voice, which is the voice of curiosity, can shut that other voice up or drown it out. What's it like to be curious about this thing instead? What's it like if I just had a ton of questions about it? What if it was okay I didn't know about it yet? But I said, what is this thing actually like? What is going on here? What's going on in this scene? Why do I say this damn line? I don't understand this. I don't understand. Why do I say this? What's happening in the room? Is there anything here that would lead me to figure this out? Like just endless, endless, endless questions. That's our way through all of this. And that gets us out of the pressure cooker of right, wrong, good, bad, perfect accent, right? Gets us out of that. Right, wrong, good, bad, perfect acting. I don't know what perfect acting is, right? I don't think anybody does. But it's, again, so I remember saying this all the way back at the beginning of our time here today. It's about the integrity of your attempt at it, not the result. Fearless attempt at the thing, and with curiosity. That's what sets you free to be able to explore all of it with impunity and with just like nothing can stop you at that point, guys. Nothing.
I love that. Is anyone surprised about Chris's approach, and you know how that approach is so much more effective than perhaps what they thought? Yeah, about accent. Cool. Excellent. Got about 9 minutes or so left. If anyone has any questions, anything like that, do pop your hands up, or your virtual hands, or your real hands, or both. Daniel, do you have anything to add to?
Yeah, well, it comes from the beginning, really. For me, it's again, it's the word confidence, and how does one get confidence? And you can't buy it off a shelf. And it comes from a series of building blocks which are solid, as solid as they can be, and all of a sudden you've got confidence. So it just feels like the more you do anything in life, the more confident you could be once you've been doing it for a while. And the thing about this sort of thing is it feels very progressive. It's not just I know how to, I'm going to learn an accent and that's it. It feels like I'm going to learn how to manipulate my jaw. Then I'm going to learn how to do this. Then I'm going to learn to learn, and it's very progressive. And the thing is, it strikes me that as actors, generally, unless you're Michael Caine and always going to play Michael Caine with the same accent, you're always going to be needing we always want to learn more and to grow and expand, and it feels like it's one of those great things where you can enjoy not just enjoy your work, but it doesn't feel like work. It can be fun. And I know when I put on silly accents, I do it for fun, or not silly accents even. When I put on accents, I do it because I'm having fun doing it. It just seems to be that really.
You're not wrong, Daniel. You're not wrong. That's absolutely, one thing I say at some point to every actor in every process is, can we play with this? A crucial element of mastery, guys, is play. All right. Until we're willing to, pardon my French, fuck around a bit and find out, we don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And it's in that play that we discover sort of where are the boundaries for all this stuff. And, where is it really easy? Oh, God, this chunk's still really hard for me. But now I know for sure. Yeah.
Very briefly, I know Christina's got a hand up. Very briefly, I was in a film called So Long, Marianne a couple of years ago about about Leonard Cohen as well, and I was playing a Canadian guy, and the audition came through. We wanted to play a Canadian guy, and I went on. I could easily have I don't know don't know the difference in Canadian and American, but from Hoos and Moose and Boot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I went online, and luckily got the videos of the exact guy, and I just learned. I just talked around like him and then got the job and then went on set and the producer came and said, shouldn't it be Hoos or Moose or whatever it was? And I said, no, this guy actually talks a little bit differently. He's Canadian, but he's got a lot of American influence.
Mm.
And the reason I'm saying this is because it's purely because of my confidence that I was able to do it. And ultimately, whether I've been cut out of it or not is not the point. I don't think I have been, but it's
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the more you know, the more confident you get, the more you know about a thing, the more you're willing to say, here's a part that's unknown, but I know how to be curious about it. I'm not worried about whether I'm going to figure it out or not. We're going to sort it out for sure. By the time I have to make a choice, I'll have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not worried about not knowing. I'm going to stay open for as long as possible with questions to try to figure more stuff out.
Yeah, Lindsay's just put in, not all Canadians say moose and boot and boot. Sorry, Christina, sorry, you've got your hand up.
Yes, hi, Chris. I mean, what I find amazing, so I don't know the technique, how you work, but that you actually can learn like Arabic, Spanish, German, all these different, because I always had in my head I need a coach that is native or something.
No, you don't.
In that language to learn, kind of. So that's a really new thing for me, and it's amazing that actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that a lot from actors and producers in particular. Like, we have a bunch of Chinese accents in this movie, so we need a Chinese accent coach. No, you just need an accent coach who can coach Chinese accents and understand how they work. And then, so for you as an actor, when you're looking for a coach, what you want to do is you want to find your coach. You want to find the person who you feel really comfortable in collaboration with and learning from, because you want that person to be your accent coach for decades. You want to learn technique and a process from that person that you guys can both rely on. Common vocabulary, common ways of working. It creates a lot of great efficiency when it comes to preparation for auditions and projects. And there's a lot of trust there. I mean, coaching, both Dan and Daniel can probably attest to this, but coaching actors, there's is an intimacy in this relationship. And so you really want to find a coach who's your coach. And so what I would say, like, you can come to me, guys, anytime at all, but I don't take for granted that I am the perfect fit for every actor on the planet. It would be ludicrous to think that, right? But if I'm not, I definitely can recommend some trusted colleagues, and we can try them out as well. Because again, whether you coach with me or not, I want you to get your accent training sorted and make sure it's taken care of so that you have success in your career. So it's not about whether they're a native speaker of this or that or the other thing. Sometimes it is useful to have a native speaker of a language if we're working in that language and all of that. I don't deny that. But make sure you find your coach. Go meet with people. I offer free consultation calls for this reason. I want to meet actors and have them meet me and see if this is going to be a fruitful collaboration or not. Right? You need to vet your coaches. Right? You need to ask a lot of questions of your accent coaches to make sure they are really professional coaches. Because there are a lot of actors out there who sort of dabbled in accents and then hung up their shingle as an accent coach, but they don't really have the skills that somebody like me has, who's able to get you to that level to where you really want to work at the highest level of this business. Right? We call these people helpful hobbyists. Their intentions are so good. but they do not have the skills to help you. Right? They can all build really nice websites though. So it's hard to find out. That's why you have to meet with them and vet the living crap out of them. Alternatively, write this website down, dialectcoaches.com. Pamela Vanderway runs that place. Okay. Her one mission in this world, she's been an accent coach in Hollywood for 40-ish years. All right. Her one mission is to find coaches and she vets them. All right. And then an actor or producer or something will reach out to her and say, I'm in need of a coach and it's this accent and it's this project and this is what's going on. Here's who I am. Here's how I think about things and everything. And she goes, I have 3 coaches that I can recommend to you. I think you'd be a good fit with. And then she connects you with those people. All right. So that's another way. If you're not certain that you could vet a coach effectively, you can always do that. You can always come to me too. Okay.
That's actually how we met Chris, right? Through Pamela.
Yeah, through Pamela. That's right. Yeah.
And also just to kind of finish off, I know we have to wrap up fairly in the next few minutes, but these are lifelong skills. They're not one-off skills, right? If you learn an American accent or an Australian accent or a British accent, it's like it will stay with you. You're not just gonna. It's not gonna disappear when you finish the play or the film or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about like we worked on a General American, and then you and I worked on Texas, wasn't it?
Texas, East, West Texas, and then Boston.
Yeah. So, but like each accent that you learned, I mean, that first accent took X amount of months together. That second accent, like half that time. The third accent, a little bit less than that, just because, not that accents get easier, but you get better at it the more you do it. The more you apply the skills, the better you get at the thing.
Does anyone have anything else to ask Chris while we have him? Anything that's popping up, dialect-wise or otherwise? Chris is also an excellent drummer, by the way. So if anyone has any drumming questions,
yeah,
that's always something as well.
I do think that we should all say goodbye in a different accent than we normally use, though. One that we've never done before.
Okay. Well, if you'd like, I can.
One we've never done before, Chris.
One that I've never done. So that's a hard one. One that I've never done before. Whew. I'm just cycling through all the countries in Europe right now.
Not just you, everybody.
Cypriot, no. That's a tough one. I have coached tons of accents at this point in my life.
Well, I've really enjoyed this chat. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris.
Of course you guys.
Everyone for being here as well. Like I said, if you haven't joined us before the first time, we have these every month. And if you want to join our session with Chris starting on the 1st of May, it's every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m., do drop Georgie an email. Join us.
Just checked our emails. We've already got 2. So
it will sell. It will sell out. Yeah. So
all right. See you all. Thank you very much,
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Till we meet again.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And then there were 3, and then there were 2.
And then there's Thomas. He just
He's want to hang out with us. So
finally found a better now. Thank you so much, Chris.
Lindsay's hanging around. We can't talk about Lindsay. I was going to say so much about Lindsay. Oh, there she's gone. All right. Thank you, sir.
That was I loved it. Wanted to stop recording, don't I?
Yes.
Where's that?
Yes. Stop recording before we say there's some things about everybody.
Yeah, see that recording button on the bottom of the screen?